Hmm. Solo leveling. Boom. What the fuck? I wanted to change the language to Japanese. What is the L? What's wrong with solo leveling? You are L. You're the L here. I cannot believe I'm playing a single player game that can only be played online. Oh gosh. That's not good. You don't like solo leveling? You are L? Like the detective? Ah. You've missed me having 70 maybe real or maybe not real viewers. Oh, from Death Note. I do like Death Note actually. Okay, Japanese, like in the anime. Alright, let's play the game. Do you know solo leveling? The anime? Probably gonna start out as a wimpy dude, just like in the series. No, it's cool. It's good. Don't focus on the camera, focus on the game. It's pretty okay. I watched the first season. It's pretty fun. I'm waiting for some feedback on the article that I've sent to the publisher. An interview. If it's... I could... No feedback so far. Is it going to start with the... A lot of people criticize this game because it's a single player game that you can only play when you have access to the internet, which sucks. Duelist. Ruler. Elementalist, Duelist, and Assassin. Because the company that made the game demands it. If you don't have access to the internet, you cannot launch the game. That's the big criticism of this game that people have, which I think is legitimate. Why does the graphic look so shit?
はい、水篠です。
私はハンター協会の古澤かりんよ。ちょうどよかった。今回ハンター協会で新たにハンターコミュニティをオープンしたわ。登録するだけですぐ利用できるからチェックしてね。
That's fine. I'm fine with the default nickname. I thought this would follow the story of the series more closely, but for some reason this is already the Chad protagonist, not the... What the fuck? I entered the menu and a browser opened. This is so stupid. Very low. Can I at least switch the graphics to normal? Okay. Maybe I could even... I'll try high. Why are you so obsessed with the name of the country? God, this looks like such a mobile game. This game has such a mobile feel to it. Where the guy? I do. It has a very racist name. Emoji? Oh my god. This is a single player game. Did you know? Hello. Still cannot believe we had 70 viewers yesterday. It's loading very slowly.
普段と同じようにしてくれ。
Okay, we're gonna see an explanation of gameplay. No?
進歩行。急所はどこか。丸見えだ。こっちの番だ。無駄だ。
Just no explanation needed. The game could be so interesting with doing the daily quest. You know, interacting with the system. Having to do time management or else doing penalties. That would be so cool.
懸命が聞こえる。傷に突き刺せ。こっちの番だ。終わりだ。 休ませないと。進歩行。闇の力よ。
Of course. I have no clue what I'm doing. Or whatever. How do you like the game? How do you like solo leveling? Okay. I thought this would be a cooler game. I thought we would start it from the very beginning. What video do you have? Paying for what? Just tell me what the video is. If it's good, then I watch it. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll watch it. We can watch it. I'm actually a little bit disappointed with the solo leveling game. I thought it would be more... I think it would utilize more of the strong points of the show. That you'd be... For example, the menu is such a wasted opportunity. You should be interacting with the little screens in the system that he always interacts with. What a wasted opportunity. They're not utilizing the strengths of the show at all. What a disappointment. Whatever, I quit. Let's watch that video that you wanted me to see. Yeah, they are, and this seems to be no exception. I thought maybe, for some reason, I thought this might be an exception, but it's not. What a disappointment. Okay, let's watch that video. Might be fun, actually. The title seems promising. I can think of a few situations in which a political commentator becomes a grifter. Let's see if I tick any of the boxes according to the video maker. And all that stuff. All that good stuff. Let's see if we can reach 70 people again. Real or not. Are there any good games based on anime? Yeah, there are. Fighting games, for example. You have... I'm gonna look for the title. The Bleach game is good. That's a fighting game. The Dragon Ball is good. What's it called? Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Fighter Z is a good game. And there's the Sparkling Zero Dragon Ball game that's also apparently pretty good. So that's based on an anime. What else? What else was there that was actually decent and based on an anime? Yeah. It's okay. I've watched quite a lot of those movie critics. So... It's like Video Game Nerd. Or... Nostalgia Critic. Is Nostalgia Critic just a grifter? Okay. Go to YouTube. Let's turn off on the browser actually as well. Okay, let's see that title. When does a YouTuber critic become a lying grifter? This is it. Anthony Gramulgia. A lot of views.
It's come to my attention that a lot of people online do not understand what a grifter actually is. At least in
Isn't a grifter just somebody that lies about what they believe in to make a quick buck? They don't really believe anything that they say, but they just say it. They just say what they think people want to hear in order to get some money. Isn't that a grifter by definition? Someone dishonest?
regards to the culture war we see online. In reality, there are multiple
Has it come to this? Has the magical impact of George Lucas' original vision of Star Wars been reduced to the level of Saturday morning animation?
types of critics out there. Many offer their perspectives on media, and while you might not agree with them, they try to make an argument that's compelling to convince you of their perspective.
Wasn't there better quality clip to use here?
Just re-released on video is the movie Gremlins, though I really can't imagine why. What's fun about a movie full of ugly, slimy, mean-spirited, gloppy little monsters who run amok and attack innocent people?
Damn, Gremlins, that's a classic. I watched Gremlins in the cinema, actually. And Gremlins too.
Others are entertainers, less interested in giving you insight and more interested in giving you a fun 5 or 10 minutes. Some argue in bad faith, and some argue to push an agenda.
He's being named here?
Some
Who is this? Who the hell is this? I don't know this person.
in bad faith, and
But
some
I am familiar with Just a Robot. I just didn't know he was a movie reviewer. I just thought that he was a vague, anti-woke, whatever, drama streamer, actually, more than any reviewer of anything. But I'm familiar.
argue to push an agenda designed to sell you on an idea or concept that they can profit from.
Who the hell is this?
Either in terms of you buying a physical product or in terms of you just consuming more of their stuff.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for
Red Letter Media.
next product.
However, because of the nature of criticism,
Cinema City does a lot of reruns recently. I went to Apocalypse Now and The Exorcist. No.
we often might find ourselves confused. Is this a grifter? Is this just an idiot?
Just an idiot. It's time for another terrible thesis with Lily. I don't know this person.
Thankfully, I'm creating this video as a handy-dandy guide for you to watch in order to determine whether or not someone is a grifter or just bad at their job.
What if you're a grifter? What if you're just bad at your... What if... That's just... Why should I trust you? Maybe you're the biggest grifter.
What is a grifter? What is the grift? What is the message they try to sell you? And how can you tell...
Hello, Grader. We're watching a video about what makes a grifter. What makes a grifter, and are these people genuine video critics, grifters, or just idiots? And we're learning what a grift even is. So, good start. We are defining our terms.
difference, even if someone is using similar grifter talking points between a true grifter and someone who's just
And a false grifter?
bought the grift. A grifter refers to someone who tries to sell you an artificial solution to a problem they created, or rather, a problem that maybe exists that has no true solution. The grift can take...
That's not really an all-encompassing... that's not really an all-encompassing definition. Someone that sells you a solution to the problem that they've created, or a solution to a problem that cannot be fixed? What about a political grifter that just does not believe in an ideology and just pushes it from a political gain? That does not fit under any of the things that you've just said.
multiple forms. For example, the old school grift was that of the snake oil salesman.
I have in my possession serums and potions for every malady and misfortune that could possibly beset a wandering traveler such as yourself.
People are just so desperate for a solution, they just bought hold of it. A critical grift usually takes the form of a critic arguing that there is a problem in the entertainment industry, and that the solution is
Oh, I know this
the
person.
form of a critic arguing that there is a problem
Oh god, there's so many of people like this. Comic books have always been political and always should be.
in the entertainment
Like those right-wing commentators that talk about media being ruined by wokeness.
industry, and that the solution is targeting some nebulous, unseen force, be it a studio head, a group of people, fans, etc., in order to improve cinema. or that cinema is being ruined by an active agenda being pushed behind the scenes.
Disney turning Star Wars and Marvel from a boy brand into a girl brand will prove to be the costliest decision in movie history. Chris Gore, whoever that is. Make Marvel male again? What the fuck? What a hashtag, make Marvel male again. Oh my god.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
They will never have actual concrete proof this agenda exists. However, they will often point to tropes, ideas, concepts, the appearance of certain actors as evidence in lieu of...
Oh no, it's the sword guy, whose name I actually completely blanked out on.
...of actual concrete evidence. And that's enough for some of their audience. Great example of this? When Shadiversity freaked out...
Shadiversity, there you go. Oh no, Princess Peach.
Princess Peach wearing pants in the Mario film.
A peach!
Yeah.
Princess Peach!
Yeah.
Have given her pants!
Yeah.
Friggin' come off it, man.
I don't count that as grift. This is just stupid. This is just stupid.
What he doesn't realize is this costume is from Mario Kart. It's a well-established outfit for Peach. Any real fan of Mario would recognize it because they've played Mario Kart. Shadiversity clearly has not. There are many people who believe that studio systems are against you, and that's not necessarily a grift. It's only a grift under certain circumstances, and I'm going to give you the tools in this video that are necessary to identify a grifter from someone who might have bought the grift themselves, or someone trying to offer you a solution to a real problem, or discuss a real problem. Because
I'm gonna be honest. Why should I care about... Like, I'm gonna ask the audience that is still here. Honest question. Why should I care about that difference? Why should I care if someone is a grifter, a cynical grifter, or if someone bought the... That is, from my perspective, that's just a distinction without a difference. I don't really care about that distinction. Why should I? I guess the person in this video is gonna explain it to me. They're like, the result's the same, so... I don't care if they're doing it cynically or if they're stupid enough to actually believe the thing that they're trying to push. The result is still them pushing the thing.
not everyone who discusses...
Why do I need tools to distinguish a true grifter from an idiot?
...problems in the entertainment...
Someone who bought the grift has a slightly better chance to still turn out normal. That's actually debatable. Because if they were so stupid that they bought the grift, then... Listen, maybe the cynical person could be logicked out of the grift.
...industry are grifters. Many aren't. Even if they disagree with you, they are not always grifters.
Maybe.
And that's a distinction that's important to make. So what is the role of a movie critic? Some might say it's to give context to the emotions you feel when watching a movie or reading a book, to illustrate how one properly contextualizes information as opposed to improperly.
You're saying out of experience? Yeah? Have you met many people that bought the grift and turned out normal?
Contextualized information. I want to play two clips real quick. One is from OSP's Mary Sue video, and the other is from, well, you'll see in a second.
Now, to be clear, there are stories with a character at their center where the character isn't a Mary Sue. The distinction is that a Mary Sue warps the way the world works around them. Glorifying the Sue is prioritized over maintaining the established characterizations or the straight-up rules of reality. A hero might be at the center of the story, but they won't be the only important character. Luke might be the one blowing up the Death Star and saving the day, but Han's the one overcoming his personal demons and swooping in to save the kid's life at the last second, and Leia Leia is the one sacrificing everything to get the plans to the rebellion in the first place. And we can't forget that the main drama in the story is caused by the presence of an equally fascinating villain to oppose our main trio. And that's the main false positive here. There's a difference between being the hero of a story and being the center of the universe.
Now, full context was given. Every detail was elaborated, connected to the core argument being made, and it never once made any sweeping statements. She was always very focused on the core mechanics of what she was talking about, offering
Core
context.
mechanics? Not a good, but it did make some people lean a little bit more towards the left. Oh, okay. That's
to
cool.
the audience
That's
as
cool.
to what a Mary Sue was and how a character might function in a plot that demonstrates the point she's trying to make. Now compare that to this.
It's the worst thing I have ever reviewed yet. Our main character, the Lark, is a badass woman who will save the world.
Who? What is this movie?
Aldo. Her and the other guy get locked up, but she's too cool for the rules and Locke picks her way out. Other than her swordmaster, who is also a woman by the way, no one else stands a chance in a duel with her. Also, she is the mother of the most important character in all of the Witcher lore.
Okay, the argument here is that a character's a Mary Sue because they can pick locks and fight good with sword. What context that actually offer to the audience? Does it actually make a connection between the trope of the Mary Sue and what happens in the show? Does it articulate clearly what's going on? This is an example of an incompetent critic. Others might argue that the critic looks to see if a story or work of art...
But I have to say, they're just trying to be loud and entertaining, those weirdo right-wing critics. That's why they end up being so popular, because it appeals to a lot of people.
The goals its artist intended for it when making it. What was the artist trying to accomplish? What did they do that aided them along this path? And what did they do that impeded their mission?
The sad reality is that the slow and meticulous explanation of, well, the character cannot be just the center of the universe because the story has to revolve around other characters who actually have their agendas and they intertwine with the main character and they each have a role to play, blah, 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 yada, 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 and so on and so forth. Will be probably usually less popular than the woman's a stupid, powerful woman going to save the world. Got him, lady boss. No man here. Men are just stupid. You know, something like that.
To illustrate this, here's a
women cannot be strong in my fictional world, true.
Clip from Siskel and Ebert's review of Jurassic Park.
They're back after millions of years. Dinosaurs, of course, in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. And the bottom line is that his special effects dinosaurs are truly thrilling, but unfortunately his human characters are not. Sam Neill and Laura Dern play archaeologists lured to a billionaire Richard Attenborough's nature park where he has grown some very real dinosaurs. He's looking for the scientists' endorsement. They're looking at the dinosaurs, and so are we. Jurassic Park has a number of peak thrills at the level of the attacks in Jaws, and it has moments of real wonder. But when the animals are off screen, the film really lags. That wasn't true if you think about it with Jaws, which had 3 marvelous characters hunting the shark. Jurassic Park only has Goldblum. The rest of the crew stands around and smiles or schemes. Still, thumbs up from me. The action scenes are really enjoyable.
Needless to say, I deeply disagree with everything that Siskel and Ebert say in this review because I think it's a fantastic movie and the human characters are actually really, really good. But again, it's a review. It's a perspective. They offer their perspective at this time, and they're not trying to grift you or suggest some studio agenda is behind everything. Another example of this is this clip from Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments from the early 2000s, where the movie The Last House on the Left is discussed. But what's interesting here is they have both a critic and the original director, Wes Craven.
Oh, Solo Leveling is an anime. I have to change the title of this stream. It's an anime and I played a game based on the anime and it's not that great. I'm changing the title. Should make a habit of changing the title of the stream more often.
Craven talking about the film.
It's revolting and horrible and shocking and visceral and taboo breaking and nasty and unforgivable.
It's a simple story encapsulating kind of so much of the human condition about violence coming out of people that you never think it could come out of, or nations.
It became a sort of political statement.
I mean, they don't spoil. That's a good thing not
what
to
I love
spoil.
about this clip is that it shows the critic taking Wes Craven's film on Wes Craven's terms, interpreting the film as he intended it to be interpreted, and seeing how the violence aided it in its grisly message. That's an option. Or you can say if it's good or not, you know? Roger Ebert wrote many reviews in the Chicago Tribune about how certain movies just plain fucking sucked.
I hated this movie. Hated this movie.
It's a very famous clip.
Hated every simple,
very
audience-insulting moment of it.
Unfortunately, online, where everyone has a voice...
I've actually heard this clip many times.
Intelligence is not always the case. Of course, that's not to say that people before the internet were informed and able to make critically fair assessments of media.
Mazes and monsters is a far-out game. Swords, poison, spells, and killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
Is it?
Back in the 80s when slasher films were becoming popular, there was a lot of controversy regarding the film
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Silent Deadly Night had a lot of people protesting it out of fear of it being inappropriate for children. This was not grifting because their outrage was genuine. They genuinely believed that this was going to cause irreparable harm to their children watching a movie involving what they believed to be a killer Santa Claus. The movie is not about a killer Santa Claus, however. The advertisements made it look like that, but that's not what the movie was about. However, just because they're not grifting does not mean that no one stood to profit from the outrage.
And Silent Night, Deadly Night now has the distinction of joining I Spit on Your Grave as one of the two most contemptible films I've seen. And I don't mean to think it's campy. It really is quite awful.
But the producer claims critics had other motives for reviewing the film.
They were coming off an enormous amount of publicity on that picture, and I think that they knew that by reviewing that picture on their show, they would get higher ratings.
And Ira Richard Barmack produced it. You people have nothing to be proud of, even if you made a few bucks off of all the negative publicity. Your profits truly are blood money.
Shame on you, Siskel, and shame on you, Ebert, because I don't believe you. I think it was the...
Streamuję, co się dzieje? Włączony.
height of hypocrisy for them to take that attitude. If they genuinely were horrified at the picture...
Did I just hear Polish language? Yeah, I was talking to my brother. A second ago.
They know very well that the most effective thing they could have done is to not review the picture.
In this case, their outrage was not a grift. It's a historical example, yes, but it's important to point out, hey, historically, there have been outrage groups against these films. Alternatively, something like the Hays Code could arguably be seen as
the Hays Code? Oh my gosh, I have my own code? I've got my own code. That collection of the past.
Someone trying to censor film due to a perceived fear of societal backlash to film, that film might corrupt the youth. Same thing happened with Seduction of the Innocent in the comic book sphere. Frederick Wortham attacked both horror comics and...
In the Gotham City residence of socialite Bruce Wayne and his ward, Dick Grayson. Something's wrong with Bruce. He hasn't been himself these past few days.
Superhero comics. The former for inspiring actors.
Jolting tales of tension in the tradition of
violence and cruelty among youth, and the last...
that was a good sleep. Come on, Dick. A cold shower, a big breakfast. and then down the Batcave to repair the Batmobile. I'm way ahead of you.
Matter for encouraging, of all things, homosexuality.
Two guys sleeping in one bed is enough.
Now, does that sound somewhat familiar to you today? Something like the Hays Code could also book sphere. Frederick Wortham attacked both horror comics and superhero comics.
Look how that kind of messes up their
things, homosexuality. Now, does that sound somewhat familiar to you today?
Children are affected very, very early on. You know, you can see kids that they grow up in a horrible, violent household, and look how that kind of messes up
Superman's son is now bisexual. This needs to stop. I don't know why, but this is so stupid. This is so stupid. This needs to stop. Stop.
their mind. Studies show that kids that experience trauma and stuff, it affects them later on. So if
is reading about Superman's bisexual son will traumatize them?
they're growing up and they're seeing, you know, lesbians and gays.
I just, you know what I'm more shocked about with the Superman thing? That for so many years, it was nothing when it comes to Superman and his relationship with Lois Lane, the marriage. Nothing. And then suddenly he has a son. That's a grown man. So he went from not having a child at all to suddenly having a kid that's just grown up. You know? It's a bit of a jump, isn't it? Feels like we've missed out on a few bits. Was he keeping his son hidden in the closet, in the basement?
On Disney Plus, they're already conditioning themselves that, hey, I want to suck dick.
That's a nice argument, Senator.
What? I want to hear that again. The kids are conditioning themselves that they want to suck dick. I mean, counter argument. Like my counter argument. Okay. Even if they are conditioning themselves to suck dick, so what? What's wrong with sucking dick? Oh, my hair. They're actually not that, believe it or not, they're not really greasy. They're actually pretty dry. But unfortunately, I'm having some very big heating problems. And that includes the water.
Latter for encouraging, of all things, homosexuality. Now, does that sound somewhat familiar to you today?
Children.
I want to listen to this again about the children that are conditioning themselves to suck dick. Which counter-argument? What is even wrong with sucking dick?
Are affected very, very early on.
Sounds like a win to me.
You can see kids that they grow up in a horrible, violent household, and look how that kind of messes up their mind. Studies show that kids that experience trauma and stuff, it affects them later on. So if they're growing up and they're seeing, you know, lesbians and gays on Disney Plus, they're already conditioning themselves that, hey, I want to suck dick.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Research.
I mean, who cares if people suck dick? That's my counter argument.
Indicated, though, that most of this critic's studies were completely bogus. He made up facts wherever he went.
The release of Dr. Wortham's note.
You asked for it. With a sharp snap, the blade breaks upon Superman's tough skin. And now you're going to get a lesson you'll never forget. Fainted.
And the subsequent
Only actual women should. Wait, Why is actual women in brackets? That makes... Why not just remove the brackets? Only actual woman should. What does only should mean? Because you're kind of indicating that you want me to read this in two ways. Either only should or only actual women should. But it makes no sense when you read it as only should. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, see? That would have made sense.
Research done by Ms. Tilley validated the years of criticism the book had received. There are many examples where Dr. Wortham omitted or added to what was related to him by his subjects. In some cases, he attributed statements from one person to another person or persons.
Yeah, actually, you just made a mistake and it triggered me. It triggered me a lot. It makes me angry. It makes me mad.
And vice versa. In other words, he manipulated statements and edited out contradictions to support the claims his book was making. Furthermore, he apparently included secondhand information provided to him by contemporaries and by parents without independently verifying its authenticity.
So what the fuck happened here? Sometimes I read them over and over again. The show of a lot. I don't remember Batman's name, but the boy's name is Robin. They live together. It could be that Batman did something with Robin like I did with the younger boy. Batman could have saved this boy's life. Robin looks like a girl. He only has trunks on. Seduction of the Innocent, page 192. Added or changed text in yellow. My favorites are war comics. I have read Batman. I liked it once, but not so much now. They show off a lot. I don't know Batman's name. But the boy's name is Robin. They live together. It could be that Batman did something with... He may have made him think something in his mouth. Robin looks like a girl. He only has trunks on. I read Crime Does Not Pay. Also Superman.
Overall, Seduction of the Innocent is a case study in how to falsify evidence to strengthen a position not supported by fact.
This guy made shit up about the comic book industry.
Batman made Robin take his thing in his mouth.
He came up with fake studies and fake examinations. He argued that the comics were saying things that weren't actually happened. But he played on the uncertainty and ignorance of his audience in order to convince...
I know that creator, Yellow Flash, or whatever the hell his name is. It's quite a big channel.
All the way up to Congress, that comics were somehow corrupting the youth of America. In my opinion, there's no difference between what these guys did and what modern-day grifters online are doing. The only difference is they're doing it directly to the audience as opposed to petitioning Congress to make moves for them. Let's set up a few tiers right now. The first being critics. You just don't agree.
I mean, yeah, thank you.
With. There are many critics out there who I personally don't agree with. For example, John Campea. John Campea, I think, is the personification of that one Red Letter Media meme.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Okay, this person I do not know. I have no clue about this person.
That crowd from the AMC Theaters group, Christian Harloff, I think was another one too. They tend to have this kind of mentality of just hyping up products and projects. And I didn't always think they made a lot of sense, but I do think that John Campea is authentically a critic. I don't agree with him, but he is a critic. His style of criticism does lend to the idea.
Was it hard for you not to say that in one of them? Admit it. Listen, I would never call anybody such a word. It's a slur, and it is unacceptable and problematic, and I would never, ever call anyone such a thing. Who do you take me for? I'm a good person. I'm a morally upstanding person, and I would never, ever. Unless I play Sekiro and die enough times, then you might get it out of me. But not before.
He understands film, he understands storytelling, and works to uncover if a work is enjoyable, what the audience feels when watching it, as well as if a work...
Trump is one of the smartest individuals in the history of the United States, and Trump is also the most European-friendly president in the history of the United States, I will have you know. Have you not seen the segment that I did recently on a academic expert from the United States? A pro-Trump academic expert that has explained to us why Trump is actually very, very intelligent.
Accomplishes that which his creator intends. Another critic who I personally disagree with a lot, who I think has bought into the grift but is not a grifter themselves, is Jeremy Jahns. Jeremy Jahns is a hugely popular critic on YouTube, and I just have not connected with his views for a very long time. I feel like the Star Wars sequel trilogy kind of fried his brain a little bit.
Here we go. How did we get here? What happened? Like, what happened to Star Wars? What happened? Where are we? What weird alternate dimension am I in? Let's review.
It's okay. Shitting on Star Wars became a pastime for many people. It became a sport basically ever since the prequels came out. So before the sequels, the prequels were the thing that people shat on. So why are people so surprised that the sequels are being crapped on? If that has already been a thing for the longest time for the prequels. Ironically, they shit on the best sequel. Which one? Which Star Wars did they shit on that's good? I've not been up to date with Star Wars. I've seen the sequel trilogy, but I've not actually seen much past that. I heard The Mandalorian is not bad. The Last Jedi is the best of the sequel trilogy. I guess. Although I did not like the portrayal of Luke. Mark Hamill did not the portrayal of Luke. Hello, fake Alec Carl Parker. Episode 9 is shit? Yeah, it is. Episode 7 is just A New Hope 2.0. That's true. That is true. Yeah. What is Lucy watching today? I'm watching a video on what makes a YouTuber a grifter. I'm learning what a grifter is, and I'm hoping we will all learn together about what a grifter is. Grifter.
I think his disappointment over that kind of turned him into like a black hole of he definitely says some things.
I think Finn should have been a Jedi. Oh yeah, I also think Finn was a super wasted character in the sequel trilogy. Actually, I think he should have been the protagonist. He would have been a great protagonist for the trilogy. Unironically, the person that was part of the Empire, defected, was trying to find his way, find his identity, who he was, how his past related to the fact that he was kind of sort of indoctrinated into the Empire ranks to begin with. They definitely wanted to make Finn a Jedi, but scrapped the idea at some point. Yeah, they wanted. Rey is overhated, but it could have been a better arc. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with those points.
Get a reaction of his audience. I think the fact that he was the only critic.
But Finn was just a wasted character, straight up. The only thing that I liked about the third sequel was that I really like the actor that plays the Emperor. He's always a fan actor to watch on screen.
Positively review the movie What is a Woman? The Daily Wire.
Oh my god.
Weird docudrama.
What is a woman?
Comedy thing, whatever. Kind of indicates that he does lean a certain way that I personally do not.
And I had already heard the...
That's one way to put it. I like the fight on water. Yeah.
Comparisons from the trailer alone. It's kind of like conservative Borat. He's interviewing, he's trolling, all the while the movie does ask questions. I do appreciate that. First off, Matt Walsh is surprisingly funny.
No, he's not. Matt Walsh is not. Matt Walsh is awkward. He is awkward as fuck. And if you find that's funny, I mean, if that's your cup of tea when it comes to humor, sure. But it kind of is humor at his expense, not because he has some innate talent or even learned talent for humor. He's just awkward as fuck. And maybe some people find this funny, but he's like this awkward guy that just tries to force things, and people awkwardly look at him and don't know how to react to him. I really wish they didn't kill off Kylo Ren. He was my favorite character. Yeah, you liked him?
I don't know, I just kind of didn't know that about him. I kind of got a glimpse of that when I saw that he crashed the Democratic National Convention.
Kylo Ren was actually also kind of a weirdly wasted character. I feel like they could have given him the better motivation. I feel like the whole setup of Luke wanted to kill him for 1 second and then didn't. You know? That's Powerpuff Girls.
In the name of promoting this movie? Come on. That is funny.
He does want to provoke a
Wait,
reaction
what?
of his audience.
Come on. Crashed the Democratic. I just kind of didn't know that about him. I kind of got a glimpse of that when I saw that he crashed the Democratic National Convention in the name of promoting this movie. Come on. That is funny.
Why is it funny?
Does want to provoke a reaction of his audience. He has a political agenda that aligns himself more with a side I personally disagree with.
Are these experts with their workshops and their books really trying to heal the world, make it a better place? Or are they perpetuating the problem, keeping it around because they found something to monetize? But all in all...
What? What the fuck does that mean? What is the problem? What problem are they monetizing? Who are they? I don't agree on Luke, but it's a topic for another conversation. I don't feel like a longer elaboration. I guess you can elaborate when I'll be playing Knights of the Old Republic. I guess that's gonna be a good opportunity.
Have myself a good time and some good laughs. No alcohol required.
Does that make him a grifter? Well, no. He still critically reviews the films, and though I disagree with his conclusions, he's still reviewing them. He's still looking at film in the context of emotionally contextualizing what the film is trying to do. He looks at the film and goes,
I'm hungry. Lucy should make me some food. I can heat up some microwave food for you.
does this film accomplish the mission set out by the director of the film?
What was the
also, the visual aesthetic of the world. I mean, I'm not saying anything I didn't say from my trailer video I did when the trailer dropped, but that mid-century futuristic...
Wow, so romantic. I mean, I do my best, right? I have to do my best. In relationships, you have to try or else they won't work. That is what I heard, so...
aesthetic, I just find it appealing. It's like some alternate art if someone drew what will the world look like in 2025 back in the 50s or 60s. It's this, which works in a superhero world where you just feel like you've seen it all before. There's no technology. It's really going to blow your hair back. But as a coat of paint, it felt fresh, new, exciting. It was cool. It worked.
I think his conclusions are different than mine are, but he's still using the same techniques that I would in that situation when reviewing a movie. Therefore, he's just a review I don't agree with. I think he's an interesting voice in the discussion, of course, because he offers a counter argument to a lot of what people on my side might say, but he is still a voice. He also did do blackface that one time.
Matt Walsh is a stupid person's idea of a smart person. There are quite a few people that are stupid people's idea of a smart person.
For the Twilight review, that was a thing that he did. That was weird. I'm not gonna lie. Another tier I briefly want to touch upon are the reviewers as entertainment. Reviewers whose intention
There you go. Nostalgia critic, video game nerd.
Is not to actually give you insight.
I'm not sure even... That's it. That's all I know. Well, I know Spoony Bar, the Spoony one.
But just entertain you for about a half hour or so. This is the Nostalgia Critic section. Someone whose reviews are not very insightful, but are more focused on creating jokes and memes based on the movies. This is also where I put CinemaSins.
What's all the fuss about blackface? Who cares? The whole fuzz about blackface, if you want a serious analytical response, is because actual black people were forced out of industries, and actors, as I understand it, were wearing blackface to be the stand-in black people for the black people that could be hired but were actually discriminated against. And doing blackface became this stark reminder of those times and became, therefore, a bad thing. There you go. That's basically what the fuzz is. It is a symbol of the time when black people were very, very openly discriminating via this technique, quote unquote.
These groups of people are people who go into every movie with the same intention, to criticize, to find something to make a joke about, to have memes made about the film. And these guys aren't really critics. Not really. They don't really offer meaningful critical analysis because the entire time they're focused...
I mean, makes it worse in what way? Like in this case, it doesn't seem to be. Like it's just agreed in society. It's not even a taboo, it's just basically agreed in society that it's a shit thing to do. Like there are certain things that are just agreed that are shit to do. It's pretty much agreed and that just going onto the street and starting saluting, doing the Hitler salutes in the street is, you know, it's not socially acceptable. But it doesn't mean that making it a taboo just makes things worse, right?
On providing a product for you to enjoy.
Looks like this movie spent half its budget.
CinemaSins is just shit, and the worst thing to have happened to film discourse.
On rain machines and made sure key scenes took place with them involved, so we couldn't hear.
It's just, you know, CinemaSins is just very super mega slop, like the cheap version of fast food of entertainment.
Hear the dialogue.
This bit right here sucks because it's the last scene with rain in it in the whole movie, and it's like 5 minutes in. These folks are also not grifters because they're not trying to grift you for anything. They're just trying to make entertainment. That means that as a critical experience, their words are less than useless. A good example of this is the Nostalgia Critic's Sailor Moon episode, which I think is...
Also, Nostalgia Critic actually did many times try to do analysis. He was trying to pivot from being an entertainer into being a movie maker. That was a big thing. He even did this whole retirement from Nostalgia Critic, and then he pivoted into movies. A little more movie-oriented project. Oh my god, this film sucks because you can see the cameraman for 0.0003 seconds. I mean, I'd probably not notice. I would probably not notice, and if somebody pointed it out to me, I'd probably say that it's a pretty cute little fact that you can see the cameraman. Because those things, it's just, when you can see a cameraman in a film, it's usually not treated as something bad, but it's just a little bit of a cute thing that made it into the film. Like, there were those Polish films in which you could see some, I think, electricity poles when it was supposed to be taking part in the 16th century or something.
His worst video, period.
But it didn't automatically mean that the whole movie was shit.
Old girl acts stupid, uses magical powers to look slutty and stupid, talking cat tells her how to fight crime because she's so stupid, surrounds herself with smarter girls that make her look even more stupid.
That's Sailor Moon.
What?
the formula you're describing is Sailor Moon.
Because it reflects the veneer of critical analysis, while Doug admits at the end he didn't even finish the show.
And guys, that's as far as I got.
Hell, he barely watched 10 episodes of a 200-episode show, yet he makes sweeping statements about the quality
Sailor Moon is actually a very interesting example because Sailor Moon was Americanized to the extreme in its adaptation in the US. The names were changed, the setting was changed from Japan to the US. I think even some foods were changed. There was a lot of censorship. It's a very interesting case study of how localizations were made at that time. There's a YouTube film critic that actually made an indie film recently. I mean, all of those critics tried to make a movie at some point. Video Game Nerd tried to make a movie. Nostalgia Critic tried to make like several movies.
Whole thing, as well as weird sex jokes involving characters who are under the age of 16. That's a thing too.
There's all this talk about Sailor Moon being a sexy 14-year-old pinup. It's all building up to one important question. Given this information, why did I still put her in the top 11 hottest anime women list? I didn't know! I swear I didn't know! I mean, look at the way they're...
In the very first episode, it is said that she's a high schooler? No, middle schooler. She starts off as a middle schooler. And it's said in the show, in the first episode. How could he not know? But it's said to be absolutely dog shit, but it just shows how hard it is to make a film. What's the name of the critic? Yeah, but like it was a bigger project. I think you can even see it in Poland. Give me the name of the thing, and maybe I'll check it out.
Drawing, man!
And then right after...
How is she? Like, okay.
That scene,
let's
there's
go back.
This moment.
I mean, look at the way they're drawing, man!
I'm not even gonna comment. I'm not even gonna comment.
And then right after that scene, there's this moment.
Oh my god, this is awful.
Turn that back on.
Who said that?
I did.
Penis?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't remember that part? I do. I remember it's Now You Have To.
Freak!
Is this Chris Stuckman? It's the Nostalgia Critic. Dog Walker.
There was another type of bad critic that's worth discussing who's also
Dog Walker, that's his name.
grifter, but is bad at what they do and deserves to be called out for it. The bad faith critic.
Oh, Chris Stuck. I know Chris Stuckman. You know what? I'll check out his movie. I know Chris Stuckman. Chris Stuckman is a pretty okay dude, I think. I remember him. I remember having a positive opinion of him.
Or just the bad critical analysis critic. You see, the thing with Jeremy Johns and John Campea is that neither are bad at what they do. They both offer a perspective that I don't agree with, from a lens I don't agree with. What they point out is still a fair point, even if I don't agree with it. There are many critics out there who look for the worst possible read of a work. In many ways, they might misrepresent the work, not so much for a grift, but for the entertainment value of a video. And I'm not saying that every critic has to be right, as if right even exists, but there are many critics out there who do tear into a work in a way that's just absurd. A great example of this is my old dear friend of the world, Lily Orchard.
And years afterwards, I was dealing with trying to wring analytical content
Who
out
the hell is Lil? The name feels familiar, but
shows that all go bad in the same boring, predictable ways to the point I just got so tired of it. That's why I don't like adventure fantasy as a concept. They're all the same, and you try coming up with a new script every 2 weeks to describe Adventure Time times 12.
Lily Orchard is a great example of a terrible...
What the hell is this? That's not good art.
Terrible critic who is not a grifter. Her critical style is horrendous.
The Last Wish is a by-the-numbers adventure fantasy that stole its aesthetic from Kingdom Hearts and its theme from Soul, but it had a red-eyed edgelord furry as the bad guy, so clearly it's the savior of animation forever from those evil chick flicks.
She fails to comprehend basic information in front of her.
But the super
Oh my god, that is... Oof. That is a scorching critique.
superficially mature is something that only young teenagers enjoy.
I like this game, okay? I played this game, I like this game. I think we should play it on stream, actually. I actually did like the Prince of Persia trilogy.
And that's fine, most people grow out of their that's for babies phase, but even when they do, they probably still find a certain childish glee in splatter movies. Childish glee in splatter movies
misrepresents things.
Mature animation sims will often point to Studio Ghibli as the gold standard for adult animation, but I always ask them what their favorite Ghibli film is when they do that, because 9 times out of 10 they'll say Princess Mononoke.
What's wrong with Princess Mononoke? I liked Princess Mononoke. What the hell?
Pretty standard kids action adventure film that follows Miyazaki's usual environmental themes. It's Nausicaa but with face paints.
Kids, won't you step outside for a second?
Twists ideas in a way that's so bizarre, and it makes me question what the fuck is she thinking? But
wow, it seems like this person does not like Lily Orchard. That is the main takeaway I'm experiencing here.
Is she a grifter? No. She's not trying to sell a specific idea. In fact, I'm not even sure she has a consistent idea at all in her head. But she offers a very bizarre worldview, one that she has trouble explaining to her audience in a way that's interesting. And she gets angry at things all the time and looks for the worst possible interpretation. Her review of
one of the shows of all time. Delicious in Dungeon is one of the shows of all time. Oh yeah, maybe I should watch this. Apparently this is actually a pretty good anime. The food anime.
Delicious in Dungeon is by far one of the worst reviews I've ever seen, and all of it depicts a presentation of her brain that shows she doesn't really get what she's talking about. Frankly, in a review of Delicious in Dungeon, her comments on Laios, autistic icon Laios, are concerning.
I can't stand Laios. I find the balance between his inability to match the tone of everyone else in the room and the point where he starts taking things seriously are so wildly out of balance, he just comes off like a dick.
In all her rambling incoherency, all she manages to do is prove she doesn't understand the character of Laios and how he is disconnected from the world, both socially and...
What? Are you seriously saying that? Seriously?
And emotionally, due to both his upbringing and implied autism. But she's incapable of actually relating and understanding a character who's different than her, or perhaps painfully related to her, so she fails this regard in spades.
And the problem I have is that an autistic person's disposition is often attributed solely to their autism and not to anything else that informs your personality. And not just by neurotypical people and fucking autism moms, autistic people do this as well.
Autism moms?
A neurotypical person is allowed to be a petulant little antisocial asshole, but if an autistic person does the same thing, people often go, well, that's the tism for ya. Laios' autistic traits are hyperfixating on monsters and looking at social cues and going, huh, I wonder who that's for, but he's also such a nihilistic misanthrope that he doesn't really care to address or consider either of those things, which compounds both of those issues, not least of which being that he's reached the age of 26, still clinging on to an idea about humanity born from being a miserable teenager in a neighboring backwater hellhole.
Ignoring the fact this read is really ridiculous, it's also staggering how she could watch scenes like this and think Laios hated humanity.
If it was so hard to be around me, you should have told me back then so I knew. I'd finally made my very first friend on the island. Did you expect me not to be excited about it?
She tries to explain topics about cinema and storytelling that just don't make sense and don't
Maybe I should watch that.
Align properly with the reality of what things are. She boils things down to a level that's overly simplistic when they should be complex, and overanalyzes simple ideas when they're simple. Add to that her tendency to get angry at shows that she's recommended to by her peers and audience.
I have a rule about not taking recommendations. You see, when I was 11, my brother and his friends made me play a really sad visual novel about a girl dying of kidney failure, and ever since then I've had trust issues. It's also why I have a rule about going into everything pre-spoiled. In general, recommendations are sought for affirmation first and foremost, and as the average schmuck in the YouTube comment section knows about as much about your taste as they do their own.
And, frankly, her refusal to engage with ideas that others present once she comes to a conclusion herself.
I swear, covering anime when you aren't a weeb is like saying Bloody Mary in the bathroom mirror. If you're negative, you're gonna have the screeching of 1,000 illiterate fucksticks descend upon you like a horde of sweaty, unwashed, transphobic bats. And if you're positive, you're gonna have 100 different shows recommended to you, ranging from the understandable to the downright deranged.
She's
You see the shows.
really bad, especially due to her tendency to demonize creators that she doesn't like.
Covering anime when you aren't a weeb is like saying Bloody Mary in the bathroom mirror. If you're negative, you're gonna have the screeching of 1,000 illiterate fucksticks descend upon you like a horde of sweaty, unwashed, transphobic bats. And if you're positive, you're gonna have 100 different shows recommended to you, ranging from the
I like the cooking show. The cooking shows are pretty nice. Free Ren is nice.
the understandable to the downright.
Attack on Titan. I've been recommended some of these.
Deranged.
She's not a good critic and is really bad, especially due to her tendency to demonize creators that she doesn't like, as well as her own critics. Case in point, me. But I digress. I'm not bitter or anything.
I kind of want to watch this. I kind of want to watch this video after this. Lily does not understand writing. You know what? I like this YouTuber. What am I gonna do? We're gonna press like. Okay, we're gonna subscribe, I guess. And we're gonna watch another video after this. I've been... you've managed to persuade me.
I think she's ridiculous. So, again, won't miss an opportunity to make fun of Lily Orchard in here, but I will give her this. She's not a grifter, because she's not selling anything. She's not clever enough to market herself that way. Also,
my God.
Don't forget, she also is accused of several awful, actual illegal things. Can't forget that detail.
Wait,
Another
like what?
critic-
Like, what are the things? Don't be a pussy. Just tell us what the things are. Jesus Christ. What are the illegal things? Tell us. Don't be a coward.
I think is worth discussing in this sense are lazy critics who just talk about movies.
This is a nice long video. I'm gonna go to the toilet real quick. I'll be right back with a snack, and we're gonna continue. Does it snow in Warsaw? Yes. Yes, it does. Fido, my dog, really wants me to take him out much more now because he loves playing in the snow. He likes eating the snow. He likes lying down in the snow. He likes doing stuff with the snow. So he really wants walks more often now. The answer is yes, we do have snow. I'll be right back. It's gonna be ready in 3 minutes. Oof. Chodź, Fajdo, chodź. No chodź. Yeah, my dog loves snow. Playing in the snow. Chodź do mnie, chodź, no chodź. No co? Ah. No co? No co jest?
But don't really have much
I'm so gonna watch that other video later.
to say about them. A great example of this is Gesture Bell.
As someone who considers myself the Lord
Here a video of this creator. Lily Orchard does not understand writing. We're binging this dude now. I got interested in this video about Lily Orchard.
acts of Harley Quinn, the person who screamed relentlessly day in and day out for years for DC Comics to stop the horrific things that they did with this character that was once simply a part of a children's Batman cartoon. I feel that it was only a matter of time, whether it happened early on or later on, that I would get around to doing this video.
I do believe Gesture Bell is a grifter, but I also have a hard time figuring out what she's even trying to do half the time. Gesture Bell's critical style is
It's okay. I'm a marathon streamer. So I don't mind watching 1 billion hour videos. I like how you go the author of the video, lol. Don't be a coward, like Pussy Boy. Tell us. True. True.
Scatterbrained and so unfocused, it's hard to figure out what she's even talking about.
I'm scatterbrained and unfocused. I think it's a charm when creators are like that, you know? I think it's a powerful point. I think when you're unfocused and scatterbrained or even bird-brained, it makes you powerful as a creator. So I think those are all positive traits.
The time.
Explaining the worst relationship in comics and why that is.
Wait, which one? Harley Quinn? Oh, I knew it. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. I have no clue why this is supposedly the worst relationship in comics. I thought it was kind of cute, actually. And they did very subtly pushed it in the Batman animated series as well. So...
Ivy. No contest, no argument. Why I think that this is objectively the worst relationship of all in comics, and that fallout will be...
Why? Why is it the worst? What is the argument here? The lesbian's bad?
Very interesting to explore.
Scissoring wrong? It was in the Harley Quinn animation as well, yeah. Harley Quinn animation was actually really funny. I watched quite a bit of it.
Idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
In many cases, she talks about movies in ways that seems like she's heard someone else talk about it and is echoing ideas off of that. It's very bizarre.
Actually, in the Harley Quinn show, in the Harley Quinn animated thing, it was actually the moving from a very unhealthy relationship towards moving into a healthy relationship. So I have no clue why that would be regarded as a bad. What is this person saying that Joker Harley Quinn relationship, quote unquote, was the good one? The good one in comics? I mean, it's okay to portray super toxic relationships in comics or media, right? It's fine. It's fine to portray weird and dysfunctional relationship, but it's also fine to, I don't know, what makes this particular relationship bad, and from what perspective? Is it bad because it's a bad relationship in this story, as in it's in this story a bad relationship, or is it a bad relationship from a story perspective because it's badly presented? Also, aren't people usually more okay with lesbians than gay men? Usually, but it's a woman doing the critique, so maybe it's different in this case. But yeah, usually people are against. Now it's different because now trans women have entered the picture, so it's no longer just about gay men. Now it's about anyone with a cock. The thing has shifted to anybody that has a cock and sleeps with a person that has a cock is a disgusting abomination. That's where we have shifted with that conversation. So it's basically the same, but the bigots went out of their way to include trans women in the conversation, I guess. How progressive.
Into rage bait. I don't think she's as active a grifter as the stuff people can talk about later who are more deliberate and more focused with their grift. Her unfocused...
You know who the biggest grifters are? People like the Quartering. The Quartering needs a mention in this video, right? He does a lot of media analysis, the Quartering. He's the biggest... He admitted to being a grifter, so... Like, the Quartering is like the griftiest grifter example that you can find from all those critics, I feel like. He just straight up said, oh yeah, I'm just doing it for the money. A lot of these things I don't even believe. And he used to like grind it out. He used to like release 3 or more videos per day of his weird rants about the media. So the Quartering has to have a mention in this video, or else I will be very disappointed. Also, my hamburger is ready, I think. I'm eating a hamburger from the store-bought hamburger. For the life of me, I'm actually struggling. I'm actually really struggling to think of a bigger grifter than the Quartering. Honestly, if someone does not do it for the money, at the very least, he's even more of a fucking loser. I mean, that's true. If you're a true believer, I'm not gonna take money for this. I refuse to make money on this. I'm doing this for the principle of it. You know what? Yeah, I will agree. That is a loser. I will definitely concede at that point. I'm not even concede. I'll just agree. We just agree, Mister. God, imagine such a figure. I will demonetize my channel, not accept any donations, nothing. I just do it for the principle. Fighting the woke.
It makes it very hard for me to really get her point. I think what she's doing is she's feeding into rage bait to get attention online. I don't believe she authentically believes half of what she's talking about. It's just too bizarre and too repetitive. I think what she's doing is chasing trends online.
True.
And that's an important distinction. The grifter does not simply chase trends online. The grifter hones in on a certain sales tactic to sell something to you. That's not the same thing as someone who just randomly shouts all the time about a nonsensical topic and seems to be confused perpetually about the films they're discussing. This category is also where I place someone like Just a Robot.
Oh my god, Just a Robot. I've come across of this person a little bit years ago. A very strange person. Also, he had some bizarre scandals around him recently. Some very bizarre scandals. Something about being a creep. I don't know the details.
Robot, someone who's really bad at making critical analysis, but also clearly a racist.
Hell, even anime characters like Ash, Sailor Moon, Goku, Naruto, Ichigo, Luffy, Eren Yeager, Saitama, Deku, and just so many other anime characters look white.
Yes, Son Goku, the character based on the very famous Chinese novel Journey to the West. That is super white, super white.
And of course, there's that one British kid. That kid also is another example of a terrible bad faith critic because he's just a racist. He's just a bigot. He's just shouting bigotries into the air in hopes that something will stick. What he's saying...
How do you know these people? Go outside from time to time. Jeez, I have to know them. It's my job. It's my job to keep tabs on them.
Is completely...
How do I go outside? I go to Ukraine. What do you mean? I literally go to Ukraine. Isn't that outside?
He's not grifting so much as, again, rage baiting for profit. That's a different thing, but also worthy of criticism. All these critics deserve pushback. The difference is, are they grifting? I don't think so. What they are doing is rage baiting. And again, that's bad too. But then we come across a really strange exception. I want to talk about it too, separate from everything else, before we dive into real...
I've actually not been convinced as to why rage baiting for money is not a form of grifting, to be honest. At the end of the day, you're selling to people something that you don't believe in to make a profit. So I kind of think that rage baiting is just a form of grifting.
Full-blown grifters. And that's Mahler.
Is the quartering gonna make it into this video?
Mahler is a strange beast.
I don't think I've ever heard of Mahler, actually. Oh my god, I know this person. I know... What is this? Oh, I'm trying to remember this person's name. The one with the dog thing.
Himself constantly with real grifters.
I was going to say, we're vaguely connected because you're familiar with a couple of guys from FNT, right? Or Geeks and Gamers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see them every once in a
I
while.
know Geeks and Gamers. Holy moly. These people are just...
We sort of make stuff together.
Oh, you pals with them?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Jeremy,
cool, okay.
on very
All
good
right.
terms with, and Ryan.
I didn't know what I'm getting into.
Oh, no.
He's working with them actively right now with Eric July's little comic imprint.
Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel vs. Babyface. The cat
Who the hell is this?
is out of the bag, and finally, I'm very proud to bring you this.
As well as aligning himself with the Critical Drinker on some movie projects.
The who? The Critical Drinker. What a name.
But I don't know if Mahler counts as a grifter. I think he counts, again, as a rage baiter, as someone who baits and pushes and all that, but I think he fully believes everything he's saying.
Okay.
A grifter is artificial. A grifter acknowledges that what they're saying is...
Yeah, that's
nonsense.
true. Like the quartering does. The quartering very openly said that he does not believe half the crap he says, but he just wants to make money.
Or snake oil.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative. I give
You're
my
an absolute
opinion.
fucking. That's
You are hard.
what we do. You.
This looks like a gallery of losers, I'm not gonna lie.
You've made the same
There's just something very sad about this assembly.
fucking video on the same topic at least 7 times a week, Ryan. And you're gonna act like we don't do that.
I talk about I talk
Larson
about
says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
I talk about things that are in the news, and when something comes out that's an update to
Oh, it's like the... Is it Shadiversity or whatever? The hell?
that, I talk about it, Jeremy. And guess what? Guess what?
Just shut up, wife. We are playing D&D assembly throw.
But if fucking there were more episodes of One Piece coming out
Imaginary wife.
and I cared about something like that or something that was topical to that, I would be
Confirm One Piece later. Later.
At least on some level. Mahler, I believe, firmly believes every single criticism he has that he makes, I think he's just full of himself.
There is an ongoing conversation about objectivity versus subjectivity. I have been made an example of by a handful of people as the channel who thinks his opinions are facts.
He's just arrogant. That's the difference between Mahler and another critic who might be bullshitting you. Because Mahler's not bullshitting anyone. He genuinely believes. The problem is he's a nitpicker. The problem is he hyper-focuses on tiny details to the point where he misses the bigger ideas of what he points out. I've already made a video diving into Mahler's technique, but
Should I watch this video as well?
I think it's important to bring Mahler up because he's such an odd example in the critical landscape. And a lot of people point this out too, even on Mahler's own subreddit, in recent months and years, Mahler has become increasingly negative. He doesn't seem to have any fun anymore. Previously, he would have at least some contradictory opinions to his to open up a discussion. But now it seems increasingly that Mahler is antagonistic to any perspective that counters his own. A great example of this was his recent Superman review, where every single person on the podcast somehow just plain hated the movie and had an extremely negative opinion on it.
I'm seeing a few people saying it's a 6. That's way too high, guys. With all of the stuff that has been... Of course, it depends on whether or not you agree, but I mean, with everything that's sort of been outlined, this film was riddled with problems.
Of course, these dumbasses would not like the new Superman movie, of course. Oh my god.
And like this stuff that's...
Oh, my boss might have written me on Facebook. Yeah, I think my boss is writing me. Uh... Hmm... That's fair. No, it's just my. It's just the editor-in-chief of the magazine that I write for. Hold on. Mm. Why though? Która godzina? What time is it? 7:05. Okay. Try to send it. No co? Mhm. Oh, he doesn't want out. He wants to play with me. He doesn't want to go out.
Good doesn't really rise to such an extent that it can compensate for these problems.
There is a great response to this review that goes into detail about every single thing that they seem to either get wrong about the film or overemphasize about the film or deliberately misunderstand about the film that I'll just reference here. And because of that, he's only further isolated himself and refused to grow and change as a critic. While his peers have developed, he hasn't. I think that's why he surrounds himself with other grifters, because they don't.
Grifters, losers. Just oh my god, what's the name of the dog person? I'm trying to remember the name of the dog person.
Challenge him. They kind of just take him as this sort of person who can do no wrong, so to speak. In fact, I think one point that's interesting is when he pushed back on other figures in his own sphere.
Kenobi show, you know, is a show that we had.
What's this guy's name?
Been waiting for, arguably. No, not you know what? Screw arguably. It was the most important show that Star Wars could ever have released after George sold it to Disney.
Ugh, I can't. No, it just never should have happened.
It's the most important show they could ever release. Maybe
well, no, because we had both ends of it. We had episode 3, we had episode 4. It was totally unnecessary.
Most notably, Star Wars Theory's criticisms about Andor.
I was going to say that sort of feels like maybe where we split significantly, where I thought Andor was excellent and it's the best thing that Disney's ever made for Star Wars, while you don't want to sell you in a particular way, but you think it's boring and maybe good, but not Star Wars.
Rags. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Rags. Blade
Runner-ish is we see Kathleen Kennedy as a problem, as of course has been highlighted now by South Park. But we actually see Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni also to blame for damaging Star Wars. Meanwhile, I think you see them as more the correct custodians to take it forward.
I think they're the only custodians we have.
And because of that, it kind of pushed Star Wars Theory out of the circle he had been starting to come into over the last few years. Star Wars Theory, by the way, I don't know if he's a grifter or not, but I do believe that he also partakes in a grift of sorts. Though I will
Star Wars Theory?
I think a problem with Star Wars Theory...
If the quartering does not get a mention in this video, I'm going to be upset. Not so, Faidushu, not so.
Is that he... No, Star Wars Theory is a grifter, what I'm talking about. Every video he makes hyper-emphasizes a small problem into a big ordeal, sometimes not even addressing things. About a year ago, there was a controversy that was started when Star Wars Explained, another Star Wars criticism channel, started discussing how certain figures in the Star Wars critical landscape, who are grifters, were being extremely bigoted towards minorities. I want you all to pay attention to something that is not mentioned.
There's this guy you talk about, and he doesn't seem to be dealing with films gamers recently. What is he dealing with? Hi, dog. Hi. Which? Hi, dog.
Discussion. Dear Team YouTube.
Hold it. I want to see. Does he discuss the war? Fido, chodź. Chodź, Fido. 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 Fido.
Last week, actor Amanda Stenberg, they, posted candid comments to Instagram about the rampage of bigotry and vitriol that she had received since leading the cast of The Acolyte, the latest addition to the Star Wars universe. Stenberg's experience is not new. In fact, this known tactic was initially provoked by former Breitbart news editor
Fido. 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 Fido.
Milo Yiannopoulos, who aggressively targeted Ghostbusters actor Leslie Jones under the guise of film criticism. After prolonged insults against her Ghostbusters character resulted in harassment against Jones on Twitter, Yiannopoulos claimed Jones was playing the victim when she called for action against the harassment. The aggressive gaslighting of Jones' experience resulted in Yiannopoulos being banned from Twitter. 8 years later, Yiannopoulos' playbook against marginalized actors has burgeoned into a multi-million-dollar business. On YouTube, which has been permitted to develop unchecked with the help of YouTube's partner program. This playbook's biggest target, Star Wars.
Freaking Star Wars series is pathetic, yeah?
As fans of the Star Wars franchise, we have tirelessly witnessed a handful of YouTube creators.
A lot of those Star Wars people are just sad. Sad as hell.
Continuously drive prolonged insults and harassment against marginalized actors and members of our community. Enough is enough. The Star Wars fandom demands that YouTube enforce its community guidelines against...
I just dropped out of the whole Star Wars thing. I've only watched the prequel trilogy and not much ever since.
Prolonged insults and incitement of targeted harassment towards women of color by demonetizing the following YouTube...
Some of the actors got some flack. Like the... What's this actress that got so much flack?
Channels. Geeks and Gamers.
The one that was sort of shown as fake love interest. She got some flack.
Ryan Cannell, RK Outpost, and Nerdrotic.
Nerdrotic?
Noticeably.
I know that name.
There are 3 channels mentioned, and none of them are Star Wars Theory. Geeks and Gamers championed RK Outpost with 319,000 subscribers, a channel that frequently targets marginalized actors, including Moses Ingram.
I know Geeks and Gamers, actually.
A black American cast member in the TV series Kenobi. Days before Ingram called out racist backlash against her Instagram, RK Outpost
I heard
called
Kenobi is a
Ingram,
pretty
quote-unquote
good show.
lunatic who can do nothing.
I've heard
other
good
than play
things of Kenobi.
the victim. RK Outpost has recently referred to Ingram's Kenobi character, Reva, as dumb and, well, a certain slur I don't like to say out loud. They made this whole big statement that went into detail about all the details about this, about the situation in Star Wars fandom, and they mentioned Star Wars theory briefly as someone who was influenced by these grifters. The hate campaign against Amandla has been so profitable that many other major YouTubers have joined the attacks on Amandla, and this is where Star Wars theory enters the picture. At the bottom of this document, as a side note, including Star Wars theory with
Definition of a 5 out of 10 for me. So it's kind of not horrible.
3 million subscribers, easily the biggest channel mentioned here. How many more good faith content creators will turn to profitable hate campaigns if this behavior is permitted to continue with no repercussions? And Star Wars Theory made the entire controversy about himself.
Welcome to another video. This is one I didn't want to make. I didn't think I would have to make, but at this point I've kind of had enough. And we're going to go into a lot of detail
I've had enough of my racism being called out.
Here with fellow Star Wars YouTubers, Star Wars Explained, a few others. Just shitty to me in general. I'm going to tell you guys about my experience. These people who are leading a campaign.
It's just average, very average, with better moments and worse. That's not so bad.
An organized hate campaign for years against me, and now I see that they've lumped me in with some of my colleagues and friends online to have our channels demonetized and essentially sending a letter to YouTube to abolish, destroy. I know Alex
abolish, destroy
is behind all this, but he's just such a sackless guy that he just can't do it himself, and he has to have his wife do it for him. People aren't watching your stuff, even with all of the free press and extra stuff that Lucasfilm and Disney give you. I mean, maybe that should tell you something. Maybe people just don't like you.
All while selling his replica lightsabers in every single video he made.
Is it about?
A lot of those YouTubers sell replica lightsabers.
This week in
That's a whole business.
Is it about Alex not being able to sleep at night and you having to freaking coddle him so that he could sleep because another channel was putting out content that was getting more views?
15% off sale is now officially live. Go to theorysabers.com right now and use code SABERSCHOOL15 for 15% off the entire site.
I always found those lightsabers to be extremely stupid, by the way. No offense to anybody who buys them, but a big plastic stick that glows a little bit is, you know? I've never seen the appeal of those lightsabers. Never. Hi, Doc. Hi, Doc. Hi, Doc. Hi. Hi, Doc.
Now, am I saying Star Wars Theory is a grifter? Yes, I am.
Just buy some cheap one to fight one time or two. The more expensive ones don't look that better anyway. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
I find Generation Tech to have more interesting approach when talking about Star Wars.
Saying that he rage baited to create advertisements to sell his replicas about an issue that didn't involve him. He put himself in there, and in all of his discussions about it, he was selling his toys, selling his business, talking about how any criticism of him is an attack on his business, an attack on the people he employs, and how dare this man, again, he made it all by himself. He made up a problem that wasn't a problem about himself, and he did it all as an advertisement for his business. I think the entire thing was extremely artificial and extremely petty. And I think as time goes on more and more and more, I think more people are realizing how superficial a lot of what he had to say truly is. Famously, when this guy watched Andor, which is unanimously agreed to be one of the greatest Star Wars shows made, period, he had some odd feedback about screws.
It's just whatever. It's honestly a kind of a forgettable show. Look, acting was great. Cinematography was great. The writing was good. But it was a lot of little things. I mean, when we saw the camera in the previous episode, there were like screws in the wall. When we see certain architecture, it's just bricks. You know, it's not smooth stone or sandstone or whatever it might be that was in the prequels or
sandstone
or the originals, which kind of gives you the feel of Star Wars. The whole thing about Star Wars is to feel like it's from a galaxy far, far away. It didn't do that.
And while maybe those feelings are authentic, he always coupled it with some self-promotion for his own work along the way. Rage baiting at every new bit, talking about how he'll never watch Star Wars again. He's done only for next week to watch the next episode of Andor or Skeleton Crew.
Oh, I hate that.
Or what have you. If that's not a grift, I don't know what is. It's also content farming. And it's also creating material that can be used as an advertisement for his personal business. I've heard his lightsabers are fine. You know, they're just overpriced replicas. That's what I've heard. And that's fine. That's a legitimate business strategy.
That's not fine to me. Selling overpriced replicas, no.
You're allowed to...
No sandstone, no Star Wars. What is a sand? That was just... Okay, sure.
Yourself. Everyone can market themselves in their videos. That's fine. But the problem is, I can't help but think a lot of it has to do with the rage baiting in response to so many different topics in the Star Wars fandom that have come up over the last several years. However, now we've come into the territory of true grifters. We've gotten through the
quartering. He has to be here.
Tertiary figures like Mauler and Star Wars Theory and Jezebel. Let's talk about what it actually means to run the grift. So what is the true grift? You know what? I'll just let them tell you it.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative. I give my opinion.
Fucking
you are what we do. You've made the same fucking video on the same topic at least 7 times a week, Ryan. And you're gonna act like we don't do that.
I talk about I talk about
says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
I talk about things that are in the news, and when something comes out that's an update to that, I talk about it, Jeremy.
But don't worry, they do this in order to combat the whiny part of fandom, right? That's what they tell us anyway.
It's ridiculous how pathetic these people are. Do I constantly whine and bitch and complain about it? No! But if I don't like it, I complain about it for like a few days, and then I just move on with my fucking life.
Brie Larson. Brie Larson.
I don't understand this need to continue to bitch and whine and moan.
Brie Larson. Brie Larson. With Brie Larson's Brie Larson.
I know this content creator as well.
Brie Larson. Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative. I give my opinion.
Fucking
I'm talking about guys like the Quartering. They're exotic.
Yes, I knew it. I told you, the biggest grifter of them all is definitely the poster boy for grifting is the Quartering. And how does he open this bit? It's people like the Quartering. Yeah. Quartering.
Geeks and Gamers, RK Outpost, whatever his name is. These guys, the guys who jump on any controversy every couple of weeks, every couple of days to milk it all it's worth. To push an idea that there's this conspiracy that's attacking culture, and it's only thanks to your efforts and your watching and your money to fund the fight against it, you know, whatever that might be. to push back on the message.
And they avoid falling into the trap of using its culturally sensitive backdrop to push the message.
I hate that term, the message, because it's so nebulous but also so specific. The idea that any presence of a minority in film is somehow this anti-society, this push to corrupt and corrode that which fandom culture holds dear, whatever that might be.
But what caused the anger in the first place? As you could probably guess, the major source of the conflict is the surge of politically driven stories modern comics have blatantly produced. And stop making comics political has become the rallying cry for the disgruntled fans, which of course led to
Captain America punched Hitler when he first arrived.
The phrase, comics have always been political. The supposed reason why so much of Marvel's legacy fanbase has either walked away or have erupted into full revolt is because it's no longer their politics or their self-image.
What the hell is the legacy fanbase? Like what? People that started reading Marvel in the 60s? Is that the legacy fanbase? People that started reading those comics in the 60s?
Being reflected in these books, and that they feel threatened by the lack of reflection.
That fandom culture is this predominantly male thing, even though historically women have been here the entire time, and we just ignored them, or overlooked them, or they've been overshadowed by very loud vocal fans. Hell, as OSP so eloquently puts in the video I mentioned at the top of this video, even the term Mary Sue, something that all these grifters use as a catch-all term for any plot issue they have, came from a woman. And the thing is, you know these guys aren't authentic. A, because they've said it themselves.
We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
Recently, there was a news article where Bella Ramsey, the actor from The Last of Us, made a comment in an interview that they would be interested in playing Spider-Man. Very briefly, it was more, if you watch the interview, it's kind of like they're put on edge, they're kind of like a little uncomfortable, and they're being pushed on the question. They kind of think, yeah, I guess I could do that. I don't really watch superheroes, though.
You didn't call him and say, I want to be in the next MCU movie.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I could see you as a superhero, Bella.
Do you think?
Oh my God, yes.
Which one?
Your own. I think they need to create a new one. Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm into that. Or I could be Spider-Man.
Okay, make that pitch right now to Tom Holland. You're out, you're in.
Tom Holland did a great job, though.
Every single one of these guys, within a day, made a video about it.
This is a real headline, and it's a real quote. Move aside, Tom Holland. Bella Ramsey says that they could be Spider-Man. And when it says they, you might say, what are they referring to? Well, Bella Ramsey goes by they, them pronouns. Maybe one of the only people that when you look at them, it's like, that might make sense that they go by that, myself included. I do think that Bella Ramsey might make a great Spooderman. You know, I think there's a possibility.
Oh no, it's the scary they, them pronouns. Oh no, non-binary people are so scary. That
could be true.
Making video on such little bullshit is the most pathetic thing I've seen. I mean, slow week.
We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out.
There you go. They said it themselves.
Don't act like that's not what we do.
There was nothing really to talk about. It's an interview, question, casual, off-kilter, whatever kind of thing. And all of a sudden you're having 18-minute videos, 20-minute videos about this topic. To demonstrate my point, let me walk you through the average Nerdrotic video. Start with about a minute and a half of clips.
Unfortunately, I also know this creator.
Edited together to attract people with short attention spans, to keep them engaged with bizarre non sequiturs long enough to have the first 30 seconds of the video be filled with people staying on board. Next, include a bunch of articles that really have nothing to do with the topic of the title at hand to engage the audience with information that's old, outdated, to fuel their anger. Get close to answering the question of your video's topic, but never actually offer any evidence or concrete answers to the topic they came here for. That way, they keep waiting for the answer until the end of the video. Engage with rage bait, and make declarative statements accusing some studio system or access media, something like that, of some falsehoods or wronghoods, all while never actually addressing the core points that the audience would want to hear that would satisfy them enough to click off the video. Keep them engaged, keep them waiting, and eventually you got a video that says absolutely nothing that will have a high engagement value with your target demographic.
That is true.
The video I've been showing in the background so far is his Fantastic Four review.
Apparently a good
takes
movie.
10
I've not
minutes
seen
to
it.
get to the actual
But apparently
review.
it's good.
And it's very boring. It's very dull. It doesn't really accomplish anything either. The push against the message is an intellectual snake oil, not a physical one. You don't really buy the snake oil, but by buying into the ideas they present, that makes you more prone to come back next week, come back tomorrow, come back even in a few hours in some cases, to watch more, to uncover how the message has infiltrated your favorite media. And isn't it strange how the message is always present in every work of mainstream media, and never the more obscure stuff, or even the popular
Did you
stuff?
see the Yad Vashem made on Poles and the Holocaust? Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen Sikorski's response, and I've seen all the far-right idiots saying... I've seen that... I'm going to read out the tweet in Polish, because I actually retweeted it in Polish. What a dumbass. There's this person from the Confederacy Party, of course, Jan Molski. There's this dumbass called Jan Molski. Narodowy konserwatysta, komentator polityczny i kaczyzm. To jedyna forma przetrwania. So, Radosław Sikorski, please specify that it was German-occupied Poland. Just pose afresh with German-occupied, please. And all the right-wing grifters started crying that he used the word please, because, you know. And this is the tweet. Proszę, rozumiecie to? Proszę. Radek Sikorski prosi Yad Vashem o zmianę z terenów Polski na okupowanych przez Niemców. No ludzie, MSZ Polski. I mean... Okay. So stupid. Even quoted. Nie wiem, czego tu nie rozumiesz. Poprosił o sprostowanie z tereny polskie na tereny polskie okupowane przez Niemcy. Easy. Like, I don't... This is so stupid. Yeah?
That doesn't conform to the structure of their particular interests. Very significantly, the movie Sinners came out. Now, Sinners is a very diverse film. It pushes a lot of very deep messages about the history of racial violence, how white people have stolen the music of black people and taken it for themselves, how the Klan sets up things to manipulate black people into a place where they can be happy, only to attack them in places where they're most vulnerable. There's a lot of ideas in Sinners that are very clever and very intellectual, and it was a great movie, widely successful, and it starred a ton of black people in it. And not a single grifter mentioned it on their main channels. Now, a couple mentioned it on side channels, sure, but you would think that its success indicated that audiences were not sick of the quote-unquote message that they push. That maybe the problem is a little imaginary. Any movie that's good gets in the way of their message that Hollywood is all terrible and there's no good films anymore. These people watch like 5 movies a year and they're all superhero films. Like, what do you expect? Citizen Kane to come out of like the next Marvel movie? No. You have to watch movies of a diverse nature to get a sense of how Hollywood is. Because if you only watch movies from one film studio that come out 3 or 4 times a year, and you hyper-focus on every news article about that one movie, you're presenting a message. That movie will have problems. And they hammer in constantly with every trailer, every announcement, this movie will be bad. Is it any shock that they always hate the movies they've been complaining about for months prior? The only exceptions are when they preemptively attack a film, like, say, Prey.
So, of course, our protagonist turns out to be a strong female character who just wants to become a hunter against the wishes and traditions of her tribe. Why? So the rest of the plot can happen. Also, I'd like to point out that no hunter-gatherer society of that time...
Everything in movies happens so that the plot can happen. I'm so tired of this argument.
Period would have tolerated this kind of bullshit from one of their own. Those ideas would have been literally beaten out of her before she could say, smash the patriarchy. Anyway, whatever. This is 21st century Hollywood's idea of what nomadic hunter tribes acted like.
And the film comes out and it turns out to be really good.
I'm pleased to say it's way better than I predicted after watching the trailer, so color me wrong on that one, I guess.
You know, That's the exception, though you will sometimes still see grifters taking Prey and arguing it's terrible, somehow.
Prey, however, was a female-led Predator movie starring an American Indian named Naru, whose character and narrative are full examples of the girl boss archetype. The story we're promised is about a 1700s Indian versus a Predator. A cool concept, in theory. But the actual story is very much a girl power fantasy starring an insufferable girl boss. And few things illustrate this better than her flimsy motivation driving her to become a hunter.
And no joke, this video later argues that Prey would have been massively improved if the protagonist gave up her dreams and went back into kitchen, essentially.
What?
I'm not even joking.
I want to
Now
hear.
things come full circle. A skill that symbolized the feminine role she once resented, now the key to her survival. But even then, her victory is only made possible by the wounds her brother caused the vicious alien. A way of saying that his sacrifice was not made in vain. In fact, in our version, instead of bringing back the Predator's head to affirm her selfish ambition, things once again come full circle as Naur brings back her brother's body, just like when he carried her back when she was knocked out by the lion. Naru, having outgrown her selfish ambitions and gained respect for the hunting profession and adoration for the man her brother was, and who she will likely emulate. So here we have a traditional character arc, as Naru begins arrogant and naive, and ends the tale a far more mature person and far wiser than she had been.
You'll also find that a lot of these guys hate quote-unquote access media, otherwise known as mainstream media.
A good friend Chris Gore, who got a lot of clapback for this quote, was right. Disney turning Star Wars and Marvel from a boy brand into a girl brand will prove to be the costliest decision in movie history. And as usual, the corporate legacy access media finally catches on to what the fans that they loathe so much have been saying years too late.
In order to counteract Access Media's influence, they often turn to certain blogs. For a while, it was Bounding into Comics, which was a parody of, well, your basic comic book website. However, recently, a new favorite has emerged, one that is completely unhinged and without restraint as to whatever it might say, Fandom Pulse, led by one John Delarose. No, wait, that's not John Delarose, that's his profile picture. No, that's the domestic violence restraining order his wife put on him. There we go, that's John Delarose. And I'm sure this guy is a stable person who says logical things. Otherwise, why would they reference this guy constantly?
But all these things are dead now. They're just skin suits of what they were before. I mean, these people do hate you. If you look at Bo DeMeo, the guy who's the showrunner for the show, he is a person who just really, really wants to tear down this society, put his global homo agenda into everything.
Global homo?
And then you better eat it up, consumer, or you're a bigot.
Oh, he's fucking crazy. Okay, great. But again, that's an idea, one that keeps you coming back for more. There are other grifters that take the grift and apply it to some company. Some, like the Quartering, leverage it to sell coffee beans, a business that apparently is not doing too well for the Quartering. But others sell a counter.
That's because he's been apparently one of his deliverers. That I'm not gonna get into that. The Quartering poor coffee story.
And nowhere is this more clear than in the movement of Comicsgate. Comicsgate was a counter to the diversification of comic book media that started really in the 2015s, 2016s or so. Stuff like Ironheart, for example, that pushed diversity further into comics, became a target of nebulous anger and rage. Now, of course, most of these Comicsgate guys would hyper-focus on like a couple different comics that were written and ignore everything else. For example, very few of them actually read the Kamala Khan stories. They hated Kamala Khan, but they didn't seem to actually read Kamala Khan. Alternatively, when it came to Ironheart, they focused on the first few issues of the Ironheart run by Brian Michael Bendis. More specifically, the scene involving the teacher in the comics, which admittedly is also terrible. Now, I have criticized the Ironheart run by Bendis did. I think it's terrible, but I also can articulate critically what aspects of it don't work. A critic can criticize work that grifters target as well if they provide critical analysis, not just bland, outright rage. Most Comicsgate critics could articulate a thing was bad, but they couldn't articulate why it was bad. And as a result, beyond just simply the message was in it. As a result, they created a nebulous narrative that the message was infiltrating comic books. And several figures came forward to say, well, I hate mainstream comics, I'm going to make my own. And they used their audience on YouTube.
Sorry? Did you say something? Calm down. There you go. It's not cropped anymore.
To leverage in crowdfunding campaigns to produce their comics.
Remember that guy who bullied Peter Parker and stole all of his girls? Well, it turns out he made a comic book, Cyberfrog Blood Honey.
Now, on one hand,
I mean, Marvel has always had its ups and downs.
if you have an audience that values what you have to say, it's not a bad idea to market a new idea to them. And the audience can then choose to accept this new media work with open arms or reject it. The problem is a lot of Comicsgate crowdfunding campaigns were either of poor quality, despite a lot of money coming in, or were basically delayed, undelivered, and in some cases, even years later, had unfulfilled promises to their backers. Nowhere is this more clear than with Ethan Van Sciver.
Cyberfrog was the flagship character of comics industry veteran Ethan Van Sciver. Van Sciver would temporarily retire the character to start work under Marvel and DC, where he'd eventually create a whole roster of characters such as Dust, who could be argued was Marvel's real first Muslim character, and Jessica Cruz, who actually showed up in the movie DC League of Super Pets.
Ethan Van Sciver was a DC artist who was pretty prolific at DC. However, after departing from DC for reasons that are nebulous, then I won't speculate, even though I've heard some things, he jumped on YouTube, became a YouTube artist, and then eventually started joining in the Comicsgate movement. Ethan Van Sciver was going to reboot a comic he had done back when he was a younger man in the 90s.
With the launch of Cyberfrog Blood Honey, a colossal crowdfunding success story grossing over $1 million in funding, making it one of, if not the, most successful crowdfunded comic at the time.
He required $500,000 to produce 44 pages of a comic. Most indie comics can be written for about under $10,000, but I digress. You gotta pay artists, you gotta pay letterers, you gotta do all that. Inkers. I get it. It's expensive, but not $500,000 expensive, especially for only a single issue. And he promises backers, delivered copies, bonuses, this, that, and the third. And when it was time to deliver, nothing. If you look at the comments section of his various Indiegogo Kickstarter campaigns, you'll find a ton of people complaining that they have not received what they asked for specifically. And these people paid a lot of money for these rewards, like a ton of money. It's just a suspicious amount of money in some cases, but most just paid, what they could. Don't forget, one campaign raised over $500,000 with just over 8,500 backers. That means some of these backers must have been paying thousands of dollars for one issue. It's hard not to look at these comments and go, well, a lot of people didn't get what they paid for. You promised something. You didn't deliver it. But you leveraged your audience to do this. This is kind of strange, isn't it? And then there's Eric July, who is a member of Blaze Media.
Who's this?
And has ties with Glenn Beck. He also jumped in Comicsgate and also produced comics, I would say, more successfully. And currently, Eric July is working with just about every single grifter we mentioned before, also Mauler, to produce more comics. He is leveraging his license that he's created, and he has made some comics, admittedly, of poor quality. Granted, the price of his comics is absurd, but he at least has comics available for sale. He leveraged his audience, again, the same way that Ethan Van Sciver did, only he delivered. And now he's expanding his independently driven comic books with other notable grifters who are using the culture war to push an agenda to present their comics to the world. It's hard not to see this as someone trying to push a product as a countermeasure to a problem they've created. To combat the message, you must support their independent, low, small art. Is that a grift? I'd say so. It's very clear these are low-effort productions designed to push product and circulate money above all else. And credit where credit is due, Ethan Van Sciver has pointed out that Eric July's art is terrible. Sciver is many things, but a bad artist he really isn't. And he notices when his competition takes shortcuts. But there's one person I ignored. The Critical Drinker. Of all people in the supposed grifter
Oh
verse
my
out there,
gosh.
the critical drinker is the most successful. And I think there's a lot to do with how he presents his opinions as to why he's so successful. Critical drinker's style fashions him as just a normal guy talking about movies to normal people. That's highly relatable beyond the absolute anger you see from some grifters on a regular basis about Brie Larson. The trick is that the grifter thinks that themes and ideas like that are just fluff that your mainstream Hollywood critics will throw in there.
You know, I've talked a lot lately about the problem of themes in movie criticism, and the tendency of today's reviewers to overlook a movie's objective flaws, rather than exercising some actual brain power to understand why its functional elements don't work.
If it's not clearly available to someone with an 8th grade reading level, it doesn't exist. That's his main perspective.
Riddle me this. What comes to mind when you think of your favourite horror movies? Is it the slowly building tension and anticipation of a vulnerable character venturing into a dark and dangerous place? The adrenaline rush of an unexpected confrontation with some horrifying creature? The sickening disgust of some shocking piece of body horror? Or maybe even a glimmer of dark humour when an unpleasant character meets their well-deserved end? Whatever it might be, it's probably not going to be a subversive exploration of contemporary American socio-political issues, but that's exactly what Jordan Peele delivers with Us, his second misguided journey into the world of horror movies.
However, what he accomplishes is he pushes against any critic who could possibly argue against him. After all, they're looking for themes and abstract ideas that don't exist as his audience interprets it, while he's looking at just the down-to-the-earth.
I used to read Marvel comics, but the MCU grifters made it insufferable, plus the whole Captain Isra and the dumbing down of Hydra and not... Wait, Captain Israel and the dumbing down of Hydra being Nazis?
So he can ignore whatever aspects of the film he doesn't like, as the director intended, in order to just push his interpretation of the story. Going back to the example of Last House on the Left I made a very long time ago at the start of this video, he would watch Last House on the Left, ignore Wes Craven's intentions, and just go, wow, that's pretty violent, isn't it? Hell, let me be honest, he'd probably argue that cops, meant to represent the inability of law enforcement to actually protect people in a violent world, are somehow demasculating men or something. Also, he demonstrably knows very little about films and his film
Also,
diet.
plus, like, also, I think I have some new viewers, so consider subscribing to the channel or pressing like. Also, after this video, I will take a break because I have to really hone in on my article about Ukraine, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with what I do, but I do journalism in Ukraine. Believe it or not, it might not be readily apparent from what I'm doing right this second, but that is what I actually do.
Is very limited, as is the case when I'll just play the clip.
There's a reason people like in the West are starting to draw more and more towards Korean or Japanese filmmaking. It's precisely because it's a bit different from what we get. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, what is the most recent Japanese film, or at least entertainment, that you enjoyed so far?
What am I thinking of? See, a lot of them would be older ones, like Old Boy, for example. I really enjoyed that one.
What the fuck?
No, it's not Japanese, but...
What? Holy shit.
Yeah, probably stuff like that. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I really like.
Oh my god.
That, and it's like Chinese.
Just say Shin Godzilla or something, dude.
But yeah.
He also does the whole grifter thing, but he does so in a way that presents entertainment to his audience. Is he wrong? Oh yeah, very often. He has made some reviews that are completely outright falsehoods, misrepresenting films he reviews and hiding reviews of films that he should have reviewed on his main channel, like Sinners. Though strangely, he reviewed Weapons, and lately has been trying to push different films like the underwatched Red Sonja, but it doesn't change the fact that the vast majority of his work is Marvel or Disney or superheroes in general. Though I gotta say, it's kind of odd you reviewed weapons immediately. I can't imagine what reason might have caused that to happen.
The message.
Also, Weapons gets 30 minutes across 2 videos while Sinners gets under 5 in 1. Seems a little disproportionate there, buddy. His main channel consists primarily of videos about mainstream blockbusters, but very rarely does he offer any counter-argument on his main channel to his narrative. He does not challenge his narrative, but it seems like every movie that comes out just further pushes his ideas. He will change video descriptions of older videos to align better with popular consensus when they come out. Most notably, his video on Prey. He was very critical of the trailer to Prey in a way that I think reflected the culture warrior grift.
If Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger and his pumped up buddies armed with state-of-the-art weaponry got wiped out almost to the last man by just one of these things, then what kind of a chance has a 100-pound girl with a bow and arrow got against it? Well, according to the trailer, nah, it'll be fine.
The point of the Predator films is that every single warrior who fights the Predator has to be tested with their skill and cleverness as opposed to their weaponry and arsenal. Even Arnold stripped down his weapons to nothing before fighting the Predator. This implies you forgot the plot of the movie you're supposedly defending. But he changed the title when the movie came out and people really liked Prey. Now, is that a deception on his part? Who's to say? The video is still up, just the title changed. But the way he presents his topics shows he is very mindful of how he markets his image to audiences. If you watch his videos on theme and the mechanics of storytelling, you realize very quickly he has a very nebulous understanding of criticism, but he presents himself as an authority to his audience and dismisses critics who talk about theme, who talk about ideas, subtext, who talk about implication of narrative, and who try to analyze film on a deeper level by presenting this nebulous, ironically postmodern perspective that it's all nonsense anyway, that there's no concrete way of discussing it, and therefore it's his critics making stuff up as they go. An interesting counter-argument considering he also pushes against the modern perspective of certain people and the questioning of societal norms in storytelling and society. In this case, the grifter pushes an idea, an agenda, a message to the audience that there is some enemy of their hobby. And it's only thanks to their critical analysis or their counterculture product that you can combat and fight this nebulous threat that's ruining your entertainment industry. So where does that place someone like myself? Where does that place someone like the Birdman or any number of anti-grifter critics online? Well, safe to say we're not grifting. We're not trying necessarily to sell you an idea, but rather to unsell you on an idea. That's the opposite of a grift. We're not taking an imaginary problem with an imaginary solution. We're taking the snake oil and telling you its ingredients. To argue is the core tenet of criticism. To take ideas and disentangle them is a core component of narrative critical analysis. If we do not have counter-arguments and discussion and argument about media, we are not engaging in good faith. We have to push against other perspectives in the critical landscape, because through discussion, through analysis, through counter-arguments, we're able to really determine the true depths of where art is. A critic who's trying to sell you on a bad idea, if you do not counter that, will influence others to misunderstand the arts. And by misunderstanding the arts, they'll misunderstand the society that created that art. They'll become incurious. They'll become detached from what we're talking about. And to do so is a net negative. It harms the arts. It harms our perspective. It harms what we want to see. And it spreads misinformation. After all, it was misinformation that led to the Hays Code. It was misinformation that led to the Comics Code Authority. It was misinformation that led to Silent Night, Deadline being
become a woke grifter. We need to balance in the forest. True.
Banned.
I'm gonna be like Anakin,
being taken off the theaters track almost immediately.
Anti-woke grifting.
It was misinformation that led to people believing D&D was a satanic, seductive force of the devil.
That's kind of far out. Mazes and monsters is a far out game. Hey, it's all imagination. Is it?
Without countering a grift, you allow it to flourish. And if it does that, who's to say what happened next?
To avoid fainting.
Okay, that's fun. So I'm gonna take a break now because I need to get some work in on the article. I need to finish it and I need to submit it. So I will see you later. Maybe we'll later see the Lily Orchard thing. Okay? I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna raid you into somebody as well. Brilliant. That was a brilliant time. Yeah, probably. Mercado Gaming. Let's go to Mercado Game. Nobody raised me, but whatever. I'll keep raiding people. Alright, bye-bye. See you.